Welcome to Map5, the podcast that brings you explicit language as well as the ABCs.
Was that the first thing on stream?
That was the first thing everybody heard. Yes, sir. Yeah, well done. Well done. Wait, how's that my fault? You were late. You were late on that. Anyway, we are here with some very special guests today. I've got Akash, I've got Aqua and Caolo alongside Ocean and myself. I'm sure anybody who's watching this knows who y'all are, but just in case, why don't we get some quick intros going on? Akash, why don't you tell us about yourself? I think 2020. I think 2020 just kind of vanished from everybody's brain. Like that year just didn't happen. So it's yeah. Aqua, you're up. Yeah, definitely. That's enough. Caolo, how about yourself?
Or from working on Atlanta Rain and Atlanta Phase.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I actually don't. I recognize you from those weird Map5 interviews.
That's
what
right.
that's what I recognize.
Well, check it out. It's another video. Just write down.
Someone just pinged me in a Discord and said my audio doesn't work. They're trolling me, though.
No, it was my fault.
Yeah.
I'm an S tier
no.
producer
Wait, what?
here. So, yeah, your intro was kind of muted.
Okay.
So
That's
does
okay.
that mean that they
everyone's-
didn't hear me swear on stream?
No, I unmuted after Aqua's. So if y'all
Okay.
want to redo your intros, we can do that. That's.
Oh yeah, do that, man.
Wait.
Okay.
So did they hear anything?
I apologize. Yeah. They
No,
heard some
you're
things.
good.
I'm sure
You're
they
You're
heard.
good. You're good, Kala.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah,
Oh,
you were
yeah.
good. You were
We
good.
just muted Akash. Go on, Akash, do your intro again, mate.
What's going on, guys? Round 2 here. I'm Akash. My audio is I think you can hear me now. My name is Akash. I was a main take player in 2020. In contenders with Susanoo, with Coalo on the right side of your screen. He's looking at you funny right now. Now he's looking away. Now he's looking back.
oh, hey.
I took a break for a while, but now I'm back.
You're back.
Playing the game, chilling.
Are you winning? Are you winning games, or are you just
I'm
here?
playing games. I'm playing games.
Are you winning games though?
That's what we like to
I'm
hear.
playing games. I'm playing games.
We
dear.
needed a practice run to make sure we got the year right as well. Just get that.
Yeah, I may have messed up the year that I was playing. It feels like
It's
I'm like a
not
dinosaur at this
1922.
point. It's not
Was it?
19.
Yeah, that was a little far away.
And then Aqua, why don't you give us that quick rundown one more time?
Oh,
Just because I
yeah.
love seeing you squirm a little bit.
Yeah, because I definitely don't have an ego problem. I'm Aqua. I do content for Misfits, Florida Mayhem, and then I own Regen.
That was the
Got it.
exact same as the way he did it the previous time. That was
Consistency.
scarily similar.
Very, very.
He rehearsed it. He rehearsed it. Also, I'm being told no one heard mine as well. If you want
What?
to redo it.
All right, do it again.
My name's Coalo. I work for TSM, do 3D and motion. You probably know me from owning Susanoo or working on Atlanta Rain. That's the team's name, or the incredible Map5 interview that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, so I don't have to
And,
gag you myself.
where do you work for again?
With
What?
Where do you work for again?
Right now?
Uh-huh.
TSM.
What was that again? I don't think you said their name properly. What is the name?
Am I saying it wrong? Team Solo Mid? Is that it?
No. You're missing something.
I have. Oh. I'm gonna get fired.
Oh, you are gonna
I'm
get
sorry.
fired.
I work
You
for
are gonna
TSM
get fired.
FTX.
There we go.
there it is. There it is. Look at Akash keeping things
wow.
on
He's like,
brand. All right.
Thank you, gosh.
Well
So
done,
much
you.
effort.
Fireworks.
Well, it wouldn't be Map5 without a botched intro, so my apologies for that all around with my S tier producing. But no, thank you all so much for coming on. We're here to talk about some orgs and talk about what makes a good org, what makes a bad org, and what we'd like to see from an ideal org somewhere along the way. But before we get into that, let's talk about a little bit of news from this week.
Fuck, I forgot to get them on a show up.
Oh my, it's okay. I'm gonna intro all of these. We got 3 news items to cover.
I should still look at it.
Yeah, you can still look at it. That's probably a good idea. First up, we have Mochi's joining forces with Toronto Serenity. I love the Mochi squad. We've had a couple of them do some of these famed Map5 interviews as well. Incredibly genuine, nice people, and very talented squad all the way down the board. Responsible for a lot of bringing inclusivity to the forefront, and showing those skills to the world. This is a good thing. Aqua, I think you've had some dealings with some of these players.
Yeah. So if hold on, I gotta pull up the tweet. I know I've worked with Jam in the past. I've worked with Samurai in the past. I've worked with some of the other people as well. They're great people, honestly. Like, and to be honest, like, they deserve everything that they've earned. Like, I know they all genuinely like work hard at the game, and they're all good people. Like, it was just a matter of time, honestly, before like they found something like this. So I'm happy to see it happen.
What does this mean for Mochi? Okay, so what is signing with Toronto Serenity? What does this do for the org?
You talking about like what it does for the org or what it does for the team? Because those are like 2 different things.
Both. What's the difference?
I guess like what it does for an org, from an org perspective, if you're looking at it from a strictly like business model, right? Like, one, it like diversifies their portfolio, and it like amplifies representation throughout the org.
Okay.
So for them, like, you know, it's good PR, it's good branding, it's just all around good to have. It shows that they genuinely do care about these kind of things. As for the team, right? Like, one, it gives them, like, I don't know if like people saw like the metallic posters and stuff like that, but like it gives them backing. I'm not sure what the whole financial situation is behind it, but like with an org like that big, like I'm going to assume there's some sort of like financial or physical, you know, gain from it, like the posters or something like that. It gets them like media work, gets them all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, in like from one aspect, right, like it kind of like adds more legitimacy to like Mochi, in a sense of like, hey, look, this isn't just like you're one of the like, you know, run of the mill like one-off kind of Overwatch teams or something that's just going to kind of like, you know, fade away into obscurity, like a lot of teams end up doing, if we're going to be honest, which is like a sad aspect of the scene that we work in.
Sure.
So like it has like it's gains on both sides, in my opinion. So,
and so that's part of like what it does for the team is kind of the financial backing. What it does for the org is kind of give it just a little bit more legitimacy.
Yeah. That's one way of putting it. Like I said, it's hard to say without like, you know, kind of like
we're not in there, right?
Sure. No,
Yeah.
this is kind of speculation, but I figured y'all know better than I. That's for sure. And I was definitely curious. You know, obviously, you know, Mochi very excited about this. Toronto Serenity, the ones who actually tweeted it out. So just kind of what that meant for both sides of this deal. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Not
I mean, they'll
really.
deserve
Okay.
it.
I thought you
Other
were
than
about
like obviously it's like well earned. Like I
Yeah,
think we
it's
can all
well
agree
earned.
on
Fair
that. Like
I thought you were about to say something. I was worried I cut you off. So that's okay. Moving forward. All right. So unfortunately, we've got more sad news.
It gets negative from here, folks. Just sit back and
Someone
take it
passed
in.
away.
Oh no,
No, not quite that sad.
maybe
not,
saying enough.
just people not getting paid. So this is a tweet coming from Pedal DPS for UTD, which this school is in my backyard. I live in Dallas, so this kind of feels close to home. But providing pretty minimal scholarships already, and now words come out that they're not really getting that. You know, Pedal coming out and saying that they're not providing the $500 scholarships that were promised to them. It's taken a long time. Louis did respond and follow up on this, who is the main tank player for University of Texas at Dallas. Goes on a quite a long thread, 9-10 posts, going on a long, very well articulated explanation as to what's going on behind the scenes with the squad. But in all of the bad news that came out with another org not paying their people recently, this was surprising to see from a collegiate squad.
I mean, okay, like if we're gonna like cut the bullshit, like what UTD is doing is just completely fucked, right? Like first of all, like $500 is horseshit. Like anybody here who has any experience in collegiate or even understands college scholarships knows that $500 when you pay for your fucking textbooks. Like it's just it's a load of crock. Like it's horseshit. Like $500, like fuck man, like shit.
And we've had Louis on the podcast, and he talked about how everybody from that squad was just kind of from UTD. The only person that they really recruited was Petal. So I think that's why Petal was the first one to be very outspoken about it, because he was one they actively recruited. And it is kind of surprising, and I think it seems bad. Like I saw Temporal, who I believe coaches for Northeastern or is in some way involved in Northeastern. And has done some videos on the collegiate scene, but he came out and it was a little clickbaity, but talk about like, is collegiate, also a dangerous path? And I think it's a valid question to a point. Now, obviously we're not going to see this from from Harrisburg or Maryville or any of those guys, Northwood. I don't think we'd see anything, ISU. I don't think we'd see anything like that happen there. But it does bring questions onto the collegiate landscape, where something that I thought was pretty sound, personally.
I mean, it just goes back to like certain colleges are like known for being dog shit at sports, like, and then some are known for being great. Like Duke is like like one of the best basketball groups in the entire country, right?
Sure.
Like everybody, like if you want to do basketball, like you go to Duke, right? Like, if you want to do, I don't know, what's another good, if you want to do ice hockey, if you're into women's ice hockey, you go to Wisconsin, right? Like there's different,
Alabama for football.
Alabama for football. Yeah.
Exactly.
But like this is just it's a new frontier, right? Like I think ISU has confirmed that they're building like an esports like stadium, like an arena.
As are Maryville.
And so like you have these accredited schools, and like everybody's known that like ISU's been like put on the map specifically this year, and I think a lot of that works due to like people like Flutie that have been doing great work over there.
Right.
But then like Maryville had been known for years for being like a very solid Overwatch program. Like they were in contenders for a very long time. And then you have shit programs like UTD that don't give a fuck and want to treat it like a club. And so like they're treating esports like it's a club program. Like that's how I look at this. Like they recruited internally. They aren't really offering real scholarships. Like it's a club. That's all it is.
Do we know if they have like backing from the athletic program? Like does the school deem them as a sport? Because I know it's an issue for a lot of schools where they are a club and they're trying to become a sport. And do we know that UTD specifically isn't just a club?
I think the issue is that they actually aren't like, I think they actually are like athletics, consider athletics, but they're just not getting the resources they were promised, is
Right.
what I understand, I think.
No, go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe there was a few months ago, or I guess at this point, maybe a year and a half ago, they were also under the spotlight that I think a lot of people just forgot about when they were trying to get a esports director, but they were hiring them under a different role, and they were getting like $25,000.
It was like two different roles, and it was like $40K. It was something mad.
That was also
Oh,
UTD,
my
if I'm not
word.
mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
That was actually the exact point I was about to bring up. Is this isn't the first red flag we've seen, and that was, I believe, when Greg Adler, I believe, was the previous head coach, left. And what it was is they were hiring for a head coach / esports director to take care of every aspect of their esports program, like across all titles, but advertised as a head coach. And it was just this weird post.
And it was underpaid.
That's really common. So
I mean, it is common.
When I used to manage, like, back when Coalo did Susanoo and Akash played over there, and I was still a manager back then, like, I was like, oh, maybe, I can back to school and like, get a degree paid off by like managing. And so I'd look around and, they'd be like, all right, well, we're hiring one person for esports and they need to be able to coach, manage League of Legends, Rocket League, Call of Duty, Overwatch. And then like, it'd be like 5 different fucking titles. You'd have to coach all 5 teams and manage them. And then you're the esports director. It's like, what the fuck is this? And then I'd say like 80% of college esports is like that, right? But the thing is like those 80% are all garbage. Like they don't have any good teams. They're all trash. And that's not your Maryvilles. That's not your ISUs. That's not anybody that's good at anything. That's probably going to be something like UDD, where you saying that they're going to be paid $40,000 to cover like multiple titles. Like that's just not one. That's not a sustain. Like no reasonable college is going to be paying any staff member that they actually care about $40,000. Like they've got more money than that.
But it's strange because like UTD, like across the esports program, has got fairly okay results. So
they've gotten phenomenal results for what.
But their Overwatch team has got phenomenal
their
results.
Overwatch
But I meant
team,
across,
for what they've
across
had.
esports. For across esports, like they've done pretty all right. So I don't understand why they're not getting any sort of backing. To be honest, I think it's strange. To be honest, I don't really think there's anything else. I think it's just wrong.
And you probably have some 60-year-old boomer in charge of it that thinks that esports isn't a valid,
So someone like Bullskunk then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was a fair shot. That was a fair shot. It's all right. I brought my cup. You're okay.
Apologies. I'm looking around. I can't find my fucking phone.
Well, that feeds right into our next news topic. No, it doesn't.
What?
Final point on that blows my mind is the University of Texas system is the highest funded college in the country as far as money they get from the U.S. government. University of Texas gets more money from the government than any other school in the United States. At least last I heard. Like that, I didn't hear that. This has been a couple years since I heard that. But I mean, it's tied in with the Longhorns and UTA. It's all part of that same school system. So that's what makes it even more mind blowing.
You just answered your own question. I guarantee you, 90% of it probably goes to their football team. It's Texas.
Yep.
Like I guarantee you, like it's no different. Like Akash said with Alabama, like when I lived there for a couple of years, like the amount of money that Alabama and Auburn pump into their football teams is atrocious, right? Like it's so damn much. So anything else is like trivial. Like you look at like UTD's other sports programs, and I guarantee you they don't really get as much funding as their football team. And then you want to throw something like esports on top of that. Like, but then it's interesting because you look at Maryville, right? And it goes back to that fundamental of like your schools with predominantly like Division I traditional sports. Like, I don't think Maryville is known for traditional sports at a D1 level.
Right. Neither's Northwood.
If I'm wrong. Yeah,
and I can actually talk about that a little bit. So Northwood, when I was coming on, because I was really interested in football, I played football when I was younger, and they were a Division II school, and I walked in, I was like, so is the football team good? No, they're absolutely fucking trash. They barely won a game last year, is what I heard when I walked in. I was like, okay, so it makes sense. And I think you do bring up a big point because, like, for the teams that are already doing well in sports, it's like, why do we need this? Why do we need this right now? They're not really looking at the bigger picture, but for a lot of other schools who want to put themselves on the map and want people to, like, know who they are and, like, just make the school look better, of course, like, it is a business. Most colleges are a business, regardless of, like, they're public or four-year. They want to make money. They want to make the school better and have a better image. So it does make sense that, like, a lot of smaller schools are willing to invest the resources because it's easier for them to attract athletes, esport athletes, and offer these like benefits that traditional athletes might have, because it's something that's more niche and less people have, so that the top of the top players can still go to like maybe a quote unquote worse school, but still like receive scholarship, be involved in a good program, and ultimately compete at a high level.
I think that's a phenomenal point.
Yeah, no, perfect. I was about to say, I was trying to think of like D1 schools, and I don't know if Miami is one, but they did all right now for watching an okay esports program. I actually remember talking to someone about Miami's esports program through watching someone else play Mario Kart Wii Time Trials. Twitch chat, we just talked about esports, yeah. Just talking about University of Miami's esports program. Apparently it's all right. Move on.
Flutie makes an interesting point in chat.
Yeah,
Maryville successfully argued that esports budget should be proportional to athletics in terms of their marketing outreach value. And the key word there being successfully argued. Goes on to say most public schools can't argue that. So for audio listeners, those watching after the fact, really good input from the ISU coach here in chat. What's up, Flutie? We appreciate you as always. But I think, unless there's any final thoughts on that.
I mean, the only final thought that I would have is like going off of what Akash said and what we said. it makes more sense that these smaller D2, D3 schools are pushing this because, like, let's be honest, they're never going to beat out, UW-Madison. They're never going to beat out, the Longhorns. They're never going to beat out Auburn. They're never going to beat out Alabama.
Sure.
But because this is a new frontier, right? Like, this is something that a lot of schools are still somewhat getting into. This is a way for them to put themselves on the map in some sort of program, especially even if you want to call it an athletic program, right? Like, this is something that they're going to be like, hey, look, we might be, a third-rate, football team, but at the same time, we're, one of the best semi-pro teams in all of America in Overwatch. Like,
Right.
It's something that they're going to be able to, like, put as a pride, like, like a bullet point on their, brochure that they hand out to students or something like that, or even just get people to go to the school.
I mean, if you're Northwood, you're talking about like you have the best Rocket League team in the country, aside from maybe like they're going to be they're top 2 favored for the collegiate world championship that's going on in 2 weeks. One of the top teams in Overwatch consistently over and over again. I don't know how their league standings are, but I imagine they're pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a selling point for students, trying to come to the school. I think that's an excellent point to end on. Let's move forward because we have another spicy topic that I know y'all are gonna get a kick out of here. As I make sure and do my production thing, let's change this on over. Let's fade that in and let's talk about OD.
Fuck.
Yep. I wanted to get y'all's opinion on this firsthand. I think this is important. Seriously, all jokes aside, all cursing at the screen aside, I think it's important to have this perspective on these rulings out there. I don't care if Blizzard ever sees this or not. I think it's important for y'all to get your voices out there on this topic. The OD rules on rosters was released a couple days ago, yesterday actually, and it's getting some backlash here, particularly with, let's see, I've got Charlie / Raven Rings, and they are team manager for Solstice and Mochi, and talking about how you can't have any ringers and you can't make any roster changes for a 4-week long season. Once it's locked, it's locked. What's the implications of this? Why is this such a stupid rule?
It's 4 weeks. Like, I'll tell you what, I'm on holiday next weekend, right? And this weekend, like, I'll be taking a mental health break from casting. Imagine someone wants to take a 1-week mental health break and your teammate can't play. That's taking the piss. Come on.
Well, and on top of that, apparently there's only room for 3 subs, so you don't have enough room.
Two.
They moved the roster lock down to. Well, they moved it down to 8 because if we're going to be honest, the summer event. If you're going to say there's no ringers, say that we're you can have 10 players on your roster. I don't understand this. They moved it down to 8 because the 64 contenders teams, which don't get me started on that fucking topic.
Fuck it out.
The 64 contenders teams, which will be decided obviously after OD. Well then it'll be on Overwatch 2.
Right.
Like from my understanding, right? So like. They're not going to be like, oh, you need 9 players for a 5-player team, it goes back to the fucking point of, OD should have been on Overwatch 2 if you're going to do a split system like that. That's just dumb on its own. But the format's fucking atrocious. The way that Game Battles is handling it is a fucking shit show, and they should be embarrassed of themselves. They're acting like children. The way that Blizzard's been handling it is also atrocious, and they've been mishandling it for the last year and a half. If anything, I know this is going to be a hot fucking take. The OD was its best when it was on Battlefy, and it was 11 games, and then into the 2-week bracket. And I know some people will hate me for saying that because it was such a long fucking OD, but the best teams got through. Only the best teams got through. Then it was a solid defined T3 because it was a double elim bracket with the top 16 teams. You still had contenders trials, which made it even, which gave it another layer of, people not feeling they're hard stuck in T3, which the last OD format was atrocious because it only like the top 2 or 4 teams got through. So, and you had all those trial teams get moved down anyways, so everybody was getting gate kept. The fact that you can't even have ringers this time, when you could have ringers in the old format, even with the hard locked roster, you could still have ringers, like emergency ringers. You can't have that anymore. The format's fucking gross. It's atrocious. Anybody in the community could have made it better. My grandma, who doesn't understand the fucking game, could have made it better. Like, they should be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed.
The most ridiculous thing is there's no humanity to it at all. 8 players across 4 weeks. Like, what if someone dies? Like, genuinely, nope, you're not allowed to move any. Like, genuinely, that is a problem. Like, genuinely, like there's no humanity to this at all. I actually can't work my head around it. And no, it's 4 weekends, right? So I mean, sure, the days at least, right? But no, 4 weekends of your life, you're for a tier 3, not even tier 3 tournament, really.
Caolo, what do you do about this from a coaching perspective?
Or from an ownership perspective.
I'm not a coach, but
ownership perspective. Excuse me.
I think it just draws you away immediately. First off, I think I've talked about this a lot in the past. When OD was the 6 weeks, it allowed for an org or just a team in general to invest, because it's like, okay, you have these 6 weeks, you're playing these games no matter what. So you've got 6 weeks of content. Awesome. If your team, doesn't do well, doesn't make contenders, it's whatever. Now you have, the last OD you had 1 weekend, right? So why would I want to invest unless I know that team's making contenders? Now it's 4 weeks, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even then, it's still not really something. It's too iffy, right? I understand top 30. Like, I would invest once contenders happens. There's 64 teams. Why? Like, OD just looks like
that's what I'm doing.
They just made an OD just because is what it looks like. It's just because we want OD, so they're just going to give us whatever they just decided. And I mean, honestly, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's be real. You talk to any sort of person who's interested in investing, no one gives 2 shits about it. I mean, I saw one roster, asked one question, and went, no, okay. And they said, no, okay, well, I'm just going to the contenders. If I see a roster I like personally and thinks we can give them the right resources, I'll say hello. There's no point
You
to
don't
even
you don't even have to place or make it through OD to play in contenders.
Yeah, there's 16 spots that are still unaccounted, 20 spots that are still unaccounted for.
That are going to be signups. The only thing OD gives you is tryouts. The only thing that OD gives you is guaranteed sign-up spot in it. They still have like 16 spots that are signed up, so you don't even have to fucking play in this and just.
Oh wait, so it's just first come, first serve?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you taking the piss? I didn't read that. I missed this bit.
Yeah.
No, all this does is it guarantees you a sign-up spot.
Yeah, no, top 32 will get that sign-up spot. 8 from previous contenders are guaranteed a spot. There are still 24 slots honestly, unaccounted for that they haven't.
Those 24,
I hadn't heard any announcement on.
I thought it was just 40.
No, it's 64 teams.
So yeah, in theory, you could have a 6-stack of bronze players in contenders.
I hope we do.
Let's just let that sink in. Let's just let that sink in. On the contenders live stream, you could have 6.
Hold on,
caster team, right?
Right.
Just all the shittest casters. Let's get them together and let's play some games.
I'm gonna play contenders. Let's do it. Akash, you were chomping at the bit over there. I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I feel like people are freaking out over the fact that anyone can be contenders now, but contenders is just a label, right? Like, if you really look at it, this is similar to when they did a seeding tournament, right? But it's for open because how are we gonna deem that the people who have contender spots from October, which was so long ago now, which most of them have drastically different rosters, are eligible to be the top of the top in the region to play for contenders, right? So I think it's a good way to filter out and survival of the fittest. Whoever is the best team, then they can play in a legit contenders tournament. They're labeling it that, but I don't think it's actually a contenders tournament. It more feels like a larger trials tournament or a seeding tournament to see who really are the best teams.
How they brand it? If this actually gets branded as contenders and it's study contenders casters.
Right,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. The way that they brand it, it's a branding issue. I don't really think necessarily what they're doing. The format is for open division, it's really weird, but the idea of having a tournament where multiple teams are competing against these existing contenders,
I get that.
Fine.
What would have been really cool, and would have been 1,000 times better, is they took the top 8 teams from the previous top 8 teams, right? Or you could have done this, right? Take the top 16. You could have done this in 2 weekends. You could have brought back the best part of the 11-week format, or however fuck that long SOD was. You could have then another 2 weekends of a top 16 double elim bracket. That would be your tier 3, right? The top 8 from that would move up. You'd have the previous 8 contenders teams. And then that would be contenders. It'd be 16 teams. And then the bottom 8 teams from that would get dropped back down. You'd still have 8 spots moving up and down. There'd still be fluidity in the scene, right? Nobody would be hard stuck like it was with the last format. you would have defined tier 3, tier 4, and tier 2. And it would be like actually like serious gameplay. It wouldn't be a branding issue. And the thing is like, I'm not a genius for coming up with this. Anybody in this call would have probably come up with the same idea at some point.
I actually have a question, because obviously I come from the Korean region. We had 10 teams in contenders, and I'll tell you right now, there are teams in Korean contenders trials who would storm any of the other regions. Like Gen G was in trials, right, and they got knocked out. Wonder who did that.
The reason why it's top 16, and it'll always be like 16. Like they. No,
I'm talking about like contenders. Last season was 8 teams. We had 10 in Korea, and arguably 12 contenders levels teams. Do you think that we should extend how many teams are in the actual top 8 of contenders to the 12?
We had trials. Like,
are you talking
trials,
about
I get that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not in North America, because I feel like the level of talent in North America right now is very, very low. Even in the contenders spots, like majority of the talent is like on like it's like the NBA right now. We're looking like the Nets, like all stacked on one team.
You say that, but you're in a better place than Europe, for fuck's sake. You're in a better place than Europe. So I mean,
we also just got gutted.
The Nets got swept as well.
You are still in a better place by Europe than Europe. Oh, Jesus.
Like, we just lost, like, how many players to the league from NA? Like, the most that we ever have in a couple of years.
Korea does it every year, man.
I mean,
but Korea's, like, esports are, like culturally acceptable in esports. You look at the league, 60% of players come from Korea. Like, I don't know if that's like, I don't think it carries the same way. Like, we just talked about how fucked up the college institutions are with esports.
Yeah.
Like, and the other problem that you have is, like, you have motherfuckers like, well, it's not been confirmed yet, but we all know that Pink's going to be in T2. We know that Tree's in T2. You've got a bunch of 15-year-olds running around in North American contenders. Like, the average age is much lower than it is in Korea. And then you go to Europe, and everybody's fucking 24. Like,
I don't think it is. I think
it's not that much younger. Our roster's average age was like 16, well, no, it was 17, 18. So, like, I mean, I wouldn't say that 100%.
I'd say a lot of the older players in NA have just gave up and retired at this point, right? So
yeah,
I like once they hit
Korea,
like
it's like
20, they're just like, that's it.
They view it as a career path. Like, for example, I played it with like Slay, for example. He's like, yeah, I took to my parents and like, okay, this is a career path for you. I think that this is something that like you can do. Slay has been doing really well since in Korea right now. So like, I hope he does well. But I think in Korea, like it's valid for a lot of the kids like at a young age to be like, okay, I'm 15, 16.
Yeah.
Now I can seriously
actually, I do have insight on this. I was able to write letters into their schools and say, yo, this kid needs out of class for scrims with the Valiant. It's all right, mate. Genuinely, we had to do that.
Awesome.
We had to write letters to get people out of class for scrims. The funniest shit I've ever done.
That would never fly in America.
That would never fly.
Never fly.
Well, I mean, not unless it was for football.
Yeah, that would be fun.
They wouldn't be in class in the first place. What are you talking about?
No, exactly.
They're not getting out of class.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a good point. But what I'm saying is, like, do you not think that 8 teams in contenders is too little?
No, I think it's just right. And at this point, it's and if we want to like, and then you also have to deal with the fact that it is NA, and any change that we make, if we move the number from 8, half the fucking seed's gonna freak the fuck out and start throwing shit at the walls. Like anytime you change anything, people are gonna get pissy, and I don't think there's any reason for it.
I'm just saying, we had 10 in Korea, and we probably should have made it 12.
I really like the idea of having relegation. To where it keeps it fluid. I think that fluidity is what's important. I think what people object to is a little bit of gatekeeping that happens where we're not seeing new talent and we're not seeing people give the option to rise up and really prove themselves. And whether that's because they end up being one-star player on an org where everybody else isn't quite up to snuff to being in tier 2 or whatever the case may be. But I think getting new players in and giving people a chance to rise through tier 3 and really shine. I think that's what everybody wants to see, and some fluidity within the top 8 into the top 16 and into the rest of the pack. I think is really important. I like that idea personally a lot.
That's fair.
I got one thing as well. From every past OD format, I'm just talking about this most recent one, right? From the past OD formats, you would have these contender trials teams or contenders level teams that would just make a pug team and go down an OD and just stomp their way through OD. But given how like bad OD was and like it's just a coin flip at this point, and how many spots there were in trials, like you never saw a single pug team in OD. They would just find themselves on trials team that's like hard suck trials, they'll lose the first game in contenders and just go right back down and just keep going in that loop. So
I've cast
something
plenty
needs-
of them.
Yeah. Could even drop a few teams, but probably not.
Let's not do that right now.
Let's not do
Do
that.
it after, and then I can laugh at you.
Exactly.
I think this actually leads into the main body of the podcast pretty nicely, in talking about some of these orgs, and I
Oh
think
fuck.
the
Well, no name
hold
drops.
on,
apart
let
from
me
the one
finish.
that we can.
Yeah, we're not here to call people out. That's not the point. The point is to improve the scene as a whole. And to try to call out what are some red flags, what are some things that we should be looking out for in some of these orgs, what are things that are good from an owner management perspective, from a player perspective, and how can we make this landscape better? Because having shit orgs is only bad for everybody. Like it's bad for the whole scene. So that's why I really wanted to get this this topic out there. I really want to have this conversation. So
I want to add, but having no words for the scene is shit. Full stop. As well, like we have to have something. Yeah, I think it's bad. It's really bad. Like if you don't have okay, for example, remember when we had Envy in contenders, right? I know it's a big example, but it's the first one that comes to mind. You'll have fans of Envy go and watch contenders to support them, right? It gives you so much more validity if you're competing against teams like that.
Sure.
So much more.
I mean,
or we were able to when we beat Team CC, that's probably our biggest claim to fame, right? That is so much help for us, right? If we want to bring in new players that believe we can actually progress people, we can say, look, this is what we did, right? But if we was some nobody team, they'll be like, well, okay, move on.
So we've already kind of discussed academy teams in previous episodes and how it was never really sustainable. So what do we do moving forward? Now, let's start at the beginning where this stemmed from. This stems from a tweet put out by our good friend Big Hungry Phil, who of course the tweet that I now lost. Let me grab the run of show.
Brilliant, wasn't me?
Yes. But talking about red flags for orgs, I mean, and this is all coming off the back of a org that's been doing really well through the off season. Suddenly, it's come out that they owe staff and players up in the range of $33,000, and it's kind of started this conversation. I think like I said, I think it's a really important conversation to have. So there was a lot of good responses here to this tweet that. It says, I'd love to hear from people in Tier 2, Tier 3 about what they think are some warning signs of dodgy orgs. And then goes on to ask, what are good indicators of quality orgs? Let's start from the top. What are some warning signs? What have y'all seen? Could we have seen this coming? Could we have seen the likes of what we just saw recently in Twitter news? Should we have seen this coming as a community?
Oh, well, as someone who, okay, not to jump the gun, but as someone who had been working for them for about a year and a half, I'm not fucking surprised. I'm not fucking surprised at fucking all. Y'all saw the fucking Wordle tweet from Rack Attack.
Oh my god.
Okay. So, events communication was fucking terrible. Garbage, right? Red flags right off the bat, communication. If you're owner and your staff and nobody's communicating, it's garbage. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. Nobody knows what the plan is. It ain't gonna work. As for the scene could have spotted it, I mean, I think a big red flag is when you see an org start picking up a bunch of titles at once and start trying to dip their little fingers into everything. Oh, look, there's a new Solaris Apex team. Oh, look, there's a new Solaris Halo team. Oh, look, Solaris is looking at Valorant. It's they don't have if your org doesn't have a foundational game, right? Every major org has some crown jewel, one or two, right? Misfits has their COD team and they have, the Mayhem. TSM clearly has their League of Legends team. It's what everybody knows TSM for, right? Same with Cloud9. Every major org has that. A lot of orgs, if they don't have a crown jewel, so to speak, something that they primarily care about, get the fuck out. If they don't have something that their owner truly cares about, or something that they're always going to back on, get the fuck out. Like,
Fair enough.
I'm going to argue at that point a little tiny bit, because I do agree that there are a lot of orgs out there that will literally just, they'll have 6 Overwatch teams, and they'll have like, oh, Valorant came out, we have our every ranked Valorant team, right? And they just, like Aqua was saying, they don't have a foundation. But I'd say Solaris was good enough to have a foundation in Overwatch. Like, obviously, that's the best they're going to get. There is no tier 1 in Overwatch, right? It's franchised, so that's the best they're going to get, is winning like back-to-back titles and whatnot. And I think their moves weren't crazy. It's not like they picked up like some random tier 4 Apex team. They picked up a team that was in ALGS Pro League, and then Halo, I think they did. I have no idea. I don't keep up with Halo. Sorry. I think they did okay. It wasn't, they went to LAN, so that's cool enough, right?
They're all right.
But yeah, that's my only, I think they had a decent enough foundation. They didn't go into too many teams. They weren't just picking up whoever, right?
To give more context on that situation, which might help clarify it, right?
Yeah.
Event had pretty much said that he wants to move away from Overwatch. He had made that well clear to the staff that he wanted to move away from that game because he did not see any monetary incentive to stay in Overwatch.
Well, I mean, my question is, why are you looking to get a monetary gain in tier 2 esports? I'm sorry. Like, realistically, if you're in tier 2 esports and you want to make money, look down the line a couple of years. There's no way you're instantly going to make money. And I think that was his plan. I mean, I had a couple of approaches from Event as a to try and merge Incendia and whatever the fuck he was coming up with at the time. It was before they did the Solaris rebrand. And I don't know if you guys have seen this. I've never read so much shit in my life. Christ above. Like he had no clue what he was saying himself. So look, if you are a tier 2 esports org and you want to make money, you cannot look to do that instantly. That's not possible.
I think if you're an esports org in general, you can't expect to make money. Even for the first 5 years, even it's not realistic at all. It's all about the growth, right? In your org, like the monetary gain. If you are investing into esports, you should be someone who's already is financially capable of. And that's the big point that I want to get at. The biggest red flag is where is the money coming from? Back when I was in tier 3 long time ago, managing a team, Perseus, it was False, Foreshadow, Russian Cows, Swinish J, and Sox. Pretty big org, Low Key Esports, reached out to me and was very interested in we want to pick you up, and they called me and they're like, oh, we're at our team house right now, this and that. But then I was like, okay, where's the money coming from? And they were like, oh, well, we have this and that. So it ended up being that they were part of some pretty shady stuff. But I just think the biggest thing is, especially if it's one individual or a couple individuals, where is the money coming from and how comfortable and how if someone is in esports looking to make money or worried about losing their investment, they should be 100% going into it as an org owner. I'm sure Caolo can relate to this. Caolo spent a lot of money on Susanoo, and he knows that he's going to lose that money. He's not expecting to get any of it back.
Yeah, I feel like we have a similar thing where if we need funding for our projects, it's not coming from me. If we're looking to invest in a certain project and I have the money to do that, I'll do that. But if we need extra funding for a project, that'll come elsewhere. You know what I mean? It has to be planned at least. But yeah, no, there's no way to make money in tier 2 or even tier 1 for short term. It's not possible. It has to be a long term project. I don't think anyone really understands that unless you're doing it, unless you're actually in esports.
I'll actually one up you real quick. I know for a fact that a lot of the top tier 1 teams and even in Overwatch League are all net negative. There is no profit.
They're all negative.
They're making profit now, they're in the profit zone, but they're all net negative. None of them are even close to net positive. So there's no money in esports. If you're here to make money, that's not what it is. You're here for the hope that maybe 10, 20 years down the line, this will become the next NFL. This will become the next MLB. That's what people are hoping for. You're going to lose a lot of money in the process, but it's going to be, you're at the start of something.
Game.
Yeah, it's super long term, not even 5 years. I'd say easy 20, 30 years is what you're looking at.
Wow.
For sure.
I think that might be a stretch, but I could see definitely the argument for that. I think it depends, how global you are. I think in my person, because esports is going to take over in Korea before it does, here, and it probably will do in the Middle Eastern region. I could definitely see it taking off there before it takes off in North America. So if you're a more global project, it could probably be 5 to 10 years. I think that would be my guess.
Yeah, I was talking more like tier 2 teams, I'd say.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, okay,
Like
fair.
obviously like TSM, Cloud9, like they're making money now. So like 5 years.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're 100% gonna make their money back. But yeah,
And
I think until like
is a lot of that off of merchandise, or does that come
Just
through?
having a fan base, people who support you, like, and they have a membership program that isn't NFT based. Let's not talk about them. Sorry, I had to get the dig in. Like, I actually can only quickly touch on that. An organization who's in the Overwatch community, it's not really hidden. Bear Claws has this NFT membership program. They're like, oh, you can visit our facility in the metaverse. Oh yeah, boy. People who are fans of your org actually get to talk to your players, not in the whatever the fuck the metaverse is. I don't get that. You're not visiting a facility; it's something online. Sorry.
To steer
Oh,
us
my gosh.
back a little bit on track. We've talked a little bit on the negative side of things. Is there a way to build an org that, I mean, is there good things to look for? What have y'all done in your orgs respectively to try to push things in a good direction? Akash, what would you look for as a player? What's the positive side of things? I mean, outside. Okay, so you're talking about good communication. Like that's one thing that
It's important.
I've ticked that box, right? That's clear. And some clear direction. I'd say is kind of what I've gathered so far.
You stole my word.
It seems very accurate, and I mean, coming from everybody here knows more about this subject than I do. I'm trying to learn and try to get this stuff out there. Is there something more? Is there something you can do consciously or look for consciously in building an org or looking for an org to push things in the right way?
Who wants to go first?
The intent clear. That's literally everything. I'll be honest, and a lot of people don't know this. Akash knows this very well, though. On Susanoo, I was not there to create an org. I was not there to create a team. I was like, because I had been on multiple tier 2 teams before that, and they're like, oh well, even though we're not paying you, you need to abide by these graphic rules, and we're not going to let you make this. You don't. And there's so much constriction. So I was like, you know what? I got the money. I'm good friends with Akash, and I wasn't offering a ton of money to Susanoo. I'm not going to act like that I'm here, throwing out like 10 grand a month, right? Not even close. But I was like, hey, look, if you can keep your thing, I'll do my thing. I just want this so I can show off my graphics. That was it. And that's why they were able to trust
graphic package. Yeah. I'm sorry. Just I love Snow's branding so much. I got giddy about it every time a Cassidy is on stream. It was actually nuts.
Thank you. It's really sick. And yeah, that was the whole point. That was my whole intent. I was like, I don't want to create anything big. I'm like, this is going to be something that I want to come into tier 2, and I want to make the best branding there was. People can say we do. People can say we didn't. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I mean, it sounds weird, but it worked out for me, right? I mean, I'm still probably net negative. Maybe not, actually. I'm probably good.
Oh, that's cap.
No, I'm not.
You're not negative.
It worked out in the long run, right? But my intent was very clear and very realistic, right? Along with making the intent clear, you got to make it realistic. If you're like, I want to create the next Cloud9, that's like, you need to stop right there. Like, that's not happening.
That's a red flag and a half.
Like, get out, So it's just about having a clear, realistic intent, and then I'd say, especially in Overwatch, letting the players have a say, because you're not some
giving
big
them
guy.
some freedom, yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't really care about how much we say. I paid Susanoo $1,000 a month between 7 players and a coach, so they're getting paid like 180. I think it was 189 was each month, and I'm not paying them enough to boss them around and like choose their roster decisions. Like, they know more than I do, so I'm just gonna do my graphics and they can do their stuff, right? Like, I'm not going to overstep.
That seems fair. I mean, it's a little less. That's probably the highest anyone in America's probably got paid outside of academy teams. Like, that's pretty good rate.
It's the only amount anyone was getting paid at the time.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I could say we were paying $275 for each player per month in Korea, and that was the least in Korea.
You're flexed on Caolo. Your money.
No. This story goes negative. $275 was the least. By far.
Okay.
My take on it is, if you want to be a good org in Overwatch, tier 2, tier 3, even if
not
you
every project needs money. Is
your whole goal should be to get your players up the fucking ladder, get your staff up the fucking ladder. Nothing else fucking matters. We're tier 2, we're tier 3, we're tier 4. Nothing else. Obviously, getting them wins. Obviously, that's huge. But the same fucking day, you're not the fucking Overwatch League. Pull your head out of your ass. Like in my opinion, right? Like, so like it's no surprise. Like, my teams aren't contenders teams, right? Like, they just aren't, right? Like, have we produced contenders level players? Yeah. Pascal was on shoes, Pink's doing well. And like where Pink was before with us was like we Rolling Ronalds picked him up for like 3 days before we grabbed him. But he was on a 4.2 team, like hard stuck 4.2. And he was not a 4.2 player, like by any means. But at the same time, it's like your whole goal should be upward momentum, right? And like if you're here to like make $1 or like mint NFTs or try to like, go like green or like Cal said, like be the next C9, like
That's not gonna happen.
you're just gonna hurt people. Like at the end of the day, like when it comes to like roster decisions and stuff, do I have like my coaches to stuff like run by stuff? I mean, yeah. Have I ever really vetoed them? No, because they know more than I do. I just need to be kept in the loop of like where my players are going, what's going on, right? Because like if I don't want to be a passive owner, right? Like that's just my style, right? But at the same time, it's like, Peace moved up too, right? Like, and the thing is like, all I want to see is like people succeed, right? Like I have a job, I'm financially stable. I'm nowhere near net positive at Regen, and that's me saying like I don't pay players. I've never paid players. I've never paid staff. I've never paid graphic artists, right? And I make that very clear when people get on board. Like I have no money. I can't offer you any money. I live below the poverty line as is, right? Like it's not happening. But like communication, like making what you're there for, like Cal said, like what he said, like he made it very clear, like what he was there to do, right? Like if you're an owner and your players and your staff don't know what you're there for, one, they're not gonna trust you. Yep. 2, it's gonna cause confusion. And 3, like it's just bad on the bottom line. Like everything should be clear, everything should be concise. Like
I think
and freedom of like
God.
I was gonna say like freedom for people to do like what they need to do should be like theirs. Like with like my artists, for example, do I wish I could pay them a fucking course? Like all my artists are fucking cracked. I've always been blessed. I've always been blessed.
Shut the mic real quick. Your artists,
Debbie's Corrupt, Chibumi, Sora, like all these people, right? I think I got them all.
I actually I played on a console Overwatch team with Corrupt.
So yeah, we got like Sebbies, we got Corrupt, we have Chibumi, we have Sora, and we have Ansi, who's our newest one, right? Almost all of them work in tier 2. And they still work with us, which is great. But all I tell them is just stick with a similar color palette. You could do whatever the fuck you want. Total freedom. I don't think I've ever really shot anyone down. They should be able to do whatever they want with their art. They're here to build a portfolio, whether that's for tier 2 or tier 1. They're here to like experiment with things that they can't experiment with on their contenders teams. Because like Caolo said, some contenders teams are like very, very strict and very, very rigid on what they want. So like if they want to learn Blender or if they want to, learn a new program and fuck around for a tier 3 team, I by all means, dude, like have fun with it, right? Like do whatever you want. But I think red flags are where you see like an owner say like, hey, things have to be this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Like, good signs. Yeah, good signs are like where you see owners be like, okay, look, my coaches are smarter than me. My managers are smarter than me. Like my artists know way more about art than me, right? Like people that are willing to be like, hey, look, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm just here to make sure that the pieces fall together. Like I think that's a good sign. But I would definitely be interested to hear what Akash has to say as like a player.
Took the words right out of my mouth. The words. I was exactly what I was about to say next. Akash, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so as a player who's been in this situation like a multitude of times ever since I was like 15 years old playing Overwatch Open Division, and I was working with Montreal esports, and they're like, oh, we want to make an Open Division team. The biggest question and the first question always asked is why? First of all, you got to think about like we're Overwatch right now. We're not doing the best. Like our viewership isn't that good. Our player count isn't that good. Like why are you a person that's looking to invest and what are you, and then why, and then what are you going to offer? And but the bigger question is honestly why do you want to do this? And that's why, like, for example, on Infamous, or what later became Susanoo, I had to convince literally all of the players that we should get this guy, we should work with this guy, and he's like literally giving us the best deal we could possibly ask for because we have 100% control over the team, and he just wants to make the branding and pay us. And the motive of why, like, you know, that question was easily answered. Caolo already answered before. He just wanted to have his branding out there, and it was a creative outlet for him, and he wanted to have a team that he was proud of owning and representing with like good branding and stuff. So I think it's really, really like clear when a lot of the reasoning from these esports orgs, or like quote unquote esports orgs, doesn't make sense. So I think that especially if it's an existing team of players, like a group of 6, 7, whatever, maybe they have a manager and some coach. If you're getting picked up and you put yourself in a situation where like you get fucked over, it's a lot of the times it's your fault. Unless, like, for example, Solaris, I don't think is that's the case at all, because, you know, they went through different roster changes. They were doing well, and like their org was doing fine previously before, from what I can see from the outside looking in. But if you're a team that's getting picked up as end players, if you're not asking the right questions and really understanding like where's the money coming from, who all is being involved, how much power do we have, how involved is the management going to be, and there are like so many questions, and you really need to make sure that the person that you're getting in bed with, basically, and you're going to be spending the rest of your time with as a player and like management and staff, like you need to make sure that that person, like, you can trust them 100%. If they can't, then like there's no point. Like, why? Unless someone is offering you like a very, very large amount of money, and then the question is like, why are you doing that? You should always be very, very like skeptical going into it with esports, because it's like most of the time they'll be like, okay, we can offer you branding. Oh, and we're looking at potential sponsorship opportunities with Logitech, Razer, you know, DX Racing chairs, you know, whatever, Vite Ramen, you know, like any kind of sponsorship, like potential sponsors. That's the biggest like red flag. No, like we're not we're not doing that. That's a big no for me. But I'd say the bottom line, like what I would like as a player would be like obviously getting paid is nice, right? But other than that would be like a very clear communication structure. I know we've mentioned that before about what's going on, and also like ease of access and really understanding their goals and what they want for your team, what they want to give you, and like why they think they can bring value to you. And then like you're also equally responsible, like selling yourself as a team, like what we can bring to the org and why we should deserve this opportunity. Because there have been situations where there is a big org in Overwatch looking to pick up a team, and it's like they're deciding between a couple teams. So I really think it's the biggest thing. Number one is like communication structure, but really it comes down to why. Why the fuck does anyone want to invest into Overwatch right now? And why the fuck do you want to have an esports org in the Overwatch contender scene, in the open division scene, or even Overwatch League? Like, why? There are like teams that are begging for help in the Overwatch League, like, please get me out. I do not want to be here anymore. And there are people, and if you have someone that messages you, hey, I'm really interested. I'm from an up and coming org. Like, just join this Discord server. I don't know. I think I'm gonna get hacked if I start talking to that person, so I'm just gonna block them instantly on site. That's me personally. That's all I have to say.
Oh my.
Yeah. I wanna kind of like because each project, you know, that you work with as an org, they require different needs. Like, we went to Korea because we saw, you know, an opportunity. We saw a roster that we liked. They wanted to talk to us, and we wanted to help them progress. We wanted to give them a structure to go and get into contenders. We did that. We achieved that. And realistically, at the end, at some points, you know, for Korean contenders, you've got to pay your players so that they feel valued. It's a thing in Korea, right? You know, realistically, every single roster in Korean contenders is paid. I think maybe besides SLT, but they have a team house, right? They get food and everything paid for them, so that's completely different. But we went there to challenge ourselves, and like, we can progress players on. We can provide the structure necessary to go and beat these teams like Gen G, like Team CC. No. Was something we were happy enough with. We were happy enough. That was the challenge, and that was what we were investing in. We have a COD project right now, which is going to land across the UK, and we were using this. Well, we want to network with different communities over here in the UK. That's helpful for us because we're a UK-based organization. That's kind of helpful for us. And additionally, what's really nice, we have a CS:GO project. All they really want is support. Right? That's completely different. Each project requires different level of resources. Some are the quieter personalities, and you need to be able to understand what your project wants.
Now, this brings up an interesting point, because this has got me thinking about the future of T2. We need T2. We need T2. We need T3. We need grassroots to create a healthy scene for these pools of players. I mean, the number of rookies that we talked about moving up into Overwatch League this year, I think, is a perfect example. And without a thriving T2 scene, we don't have that. And these players are popping the fuck off, like are shining in just 3 weeks or 2 weeks and a day of Overwatch League, and we're already seeing a lot of these rookies shining. How do we keep T2 a lot? Is collegiate the answer? I mean, we've got Flutie in chat, who's obviously a huge proponent of that, and understandably so. I mean, I know a lot of those rookies came from ISU. What can we do moving forward? Like, what do we do? Like, I mean, you're creating a startup org. Like, is there something that you can do to play it forward? Like, wait, no, what? Make the game better?
Make the game good. That you can end this whole conversation right now. All the issues that stem with people not grinding in the game. How do we make tier 2 better? How do we get more viewership? All of this stems from Blizzard needs to make money, and the way they make money is make the game better and have people play it. I will spend thousands of dollars on this game if they make cosmetics, but there's nothing for me to spend it on. I buy every cosmetic that they put out in the game, even though I don't play the fucking game anymore, like, every day. But, like, make the game good, and everything else, like, trickles down from there. All the League issues, all the tier 2 issues, all the open division issues, the more money, the more fans we have in Overwatch, everything else will fix itself from there. That's the biggest issue that we have right now. And once they solve that, then we can worry about, like, the fundamental, like, management issues and structural issues that we have going on in tier 2 and tier 3. And even Overwatch League.
There's a comment in chat about loosening sponsorship restrictions.
Please, for
my
the
owners here, would that make a big difference?
God. They are ridiculous.
I honestly wouldn't mind if the hub sponsored an Overwatch team. I wouldn't.
What's the hub? I'm an idiot.
Pornhub map.
Okay.
Yeah, no, okay, because let me say this, like,
now I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch, but
okay. Well, let's look at Blizzard's other titles. You have Diablo, not the most family friendly game. Like, you could say, like, oh, Overwatch is, family friendly, blah 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 blah. I mean, I guess, but, like, at the same time, it's like money in the scene is money in the scene. Like, as long as it's like I think, like, the only sponsorship restriction that it should be is that it's like an actual company, like an actual, like, not some NFT crypto scheme, right? Like, obviously, like, I don't think none of us want crypto schemes.
Jesus Christ! No, you just want to ban Berklon. That's it.
But, like, I think just allowing money into the scene. So, like, one, obviously make the fucking game better. Akash hit it right on the fucking, like,
that's
you're not
number
wrong
one.
in yeah, like, obviously that's number one. Like, make the game better. Number two, like, I would say make it so that anybody, like, loosen up tournament restrictions. Like, they've been doing better about that, but that should, anybody should be able to host a fucking tournament. It shouldn't take, like, a genius to set things up. It's pretty easy, like, under 1K now, but, like, anybody, like, okay, $1,000, like, but, like, your big tournaments that draw views are like 5 to 10K, like, those are super restricted. Loosen up sponsor restrictions. It's another big one, right? Like, money should be allowed in the scene. Like, we're gatekeeping money in the scene. Like, you can't have tobacco products sponsor any sort of event, but we're fine with, cowboys smoking cigars in the game. Like, make up your fucking mind. It's like one or the other. Like, you can't have both. And then from there, you can start looking at other things like, okay, let people in the fucking scene run the scene. Why? It goes back to the fucking OD thing. Why the fuck is Game Battles, like, supporting this shit? Like, who the fuck is writing these formats? Like, where is this shit coming from? Why does the community have no say in this shit? Like, you could go like, oh, well, the community has say, like, we have the contenders discords that pop up from time to time depending on the season, where, you have your team rep and they get feedback and stuff like that. But, like, I can pull up the sheet of shit that, Blizzard said they were going to fix, and I could post that shit on Twitter right now, and almost none of the shit that they said they were going to change, they didn't change it. Like, if you're going to say you're going to fucking do something, fucking do it. If you're going to say that if you're going to ask for fucking feedback, listen to the fucking feedback.
Act on it.
You're insulting every single person in the goddamn scene by saying, "Hey, look, tell us what you want." And then going, "Oh, hey, that's a great idea. Let's do that." And then not doing anything. Like yeah, and then, like Flute said, like, imagine not even announcing OD until the day before in your own Discord. Why? Why are we still being so secretive about ODs? Like, why does it matter? who are you going to offend? We've been waiting for an open division for what, 8 months?
Yeah,
8 months. And you look like, hold on, I'm gonna go look at this right now. I'm gonna pull this up.
While you're looking at this, I mean, I want to say, like, look, realistically, it's not possible to get funding for an Overwatch thing. We've had funding from an entertainment company in Northern Ireland previously, which that was when we had a couple of Rocket League projects in Northern Ireland in particular. But realistically, we also had some offers in Korea, but that was it. That was it. Like, it's so limiting on, you know, what you can do. I don't think funding's impossible in this scene, but I tell you what, Blizzard darn make it impossible.
Caolo, I feel like I've seen you make a list in your head.
I have a very hot take that you're gonna have to hear me out on.
Go on.
And I think at the very start of it, it's gonna be very shocking. But I think franchising was possibly the worst thing they could have done for this game. And I think a lot of people secretly agree with this, but they don't publicly say it because obviously you can't get rid of Overwatch League.
Why?
But well, I'm getting there. I think with franchising, it doesn't allow the teams, like, your team wants to get a sponsor, right? We're talking about the sponsor restrictions. We're talking about the tournament restrictions. But in order for a team to get a sponsor, they need something of monetary value to give back to the sponsor. And usually that comes in engagements, right? In some way, shape, or form. But Contenders and Open Division has no engagements. And it never really has. And because there's, as you guys said, there's no big names in it whatsoever. Because all those big names are in Overwatch League. And they're not even going by their real big names. We can get into that a different day.
That bit's weird.
Yeah. Well, but even continuing, like, you have teams like, the Guard's going to be a bad example, but a good example at the same time. Brand new Valorant team, right? Obviously, they have the funding. They're a real org and whatnot. But they went all the way to the major, right? You don't have any room for that. There's no tier 1. Like, if any team that invests in tier 2 Overwatch, they can't get tier 1. And because of that, they're not going to get tier 1 sponsors. So your sponsors are so limited. And as I'm sure people are thinking,
they're limited as fuck.
Yeah. People are thinking like, oh, Aqua's crazy. Why do we even want a tobacco sponsor? Because that's all we can get in tier 2. That's it. There's nothing else. We're not getting the top ones. We're not getting Razer. We're not getting anything because you can't make it a tier 2. You can't get in that kind of engagement. You know how cool it'd be? Like, let's London Spitfire. They go back to Cloud9. You know how cool it is if Susanoo is in an open qualifier and we play Cloud9? You know, people are going to watch that. You know how many more sponsors are going to look at Susanoo and be like, oh my gosh, I want to invest in this team. They just beat Cloud9. Because we're maxed out at tier 2, there isn't any way to, fix it. There's no way, like, in my opinion.
Especially in North America. At least in Korea, you've got T1, you've got O2 Blast, you've got Team CC, and you've got Gen G. Right, you got those 4. And then after that, it's kind of whatever. Yeah. At least got that opportunity.
I think it would also make the game more exciting to even watch at the top level. Like, I gotta be careful what I say here, right? Like, obviously, but Shanghai Dragons going 0-42. They should never be allowed to continue to be at the top level at that point.
I mean,
like,
LA Valiant 2021.
There were legitimately tier 3 teams in North America that probably could have beat that team. At least trials teams, like
the Valiant,
the 0-42 Shanghai Dragons. Like, these teams
first year, okay, 4th year in the league, and with all of that happened,
I guarantee you, Susanoo could have beat them. I guarantee you.
Hell yeah!
I mean, maybe not with our players at that time. I can tell you right now. I can tell you right now. I've watched the Valiants come. I can tell you right now. Tier 3 teams in Korea have blacklisted them because they were associated.
And like I said, I want to be careful what I say here. Comes to, like, the league stuff, but I think franchising definitely has its negative effects.
I also think it's positive effects too.
Because it does have some positive effects, right? Like, there's tit for tat. But, you look at almost every other major esports, right? Like, League of Legends moved away from franchising. I believe they used to have it. I know they don't really have it anymore, where you can go all the way up and you go all the way down. Obviously, like, your really good teams are always still up there because they will make, damn sure, like, Cloud9, TSM, they're always going to have a good team. Like, they're not going to let themselves be embarrassed, especially with how established they are and the amount of money that they have. It's not going to happen, right? But every now and then, you'll have some team call its way out of the fucking woodworks. You'll have your best buds, crawl up, and all of a sudden they'll be playing TSM, and it'll be like, oh shit, who are these guys? oh, hey, this would be, I think what the league could do, because franchising is not going to go away. Let's be real here. I think what they could do, and I know this would break the magical illusion, because I know Casters even talked about today about how, this is the Overwatch League. I don't know if Contenders players can keep up. Have an event where, and I've been wanting this for years, is where your winners of the gauntlet or your best teams in each region could play against an Overwatch League team. Some sort of scrimmage. And you could make it as rigged as you want it to be, Blizzard. But at the end of the day, I guarantee you, if you had the best team in each region play against, a team from that region, they would at least, somewhat hold their own. And I think it would really validate the T2 scene in some sponsors' eyes. I think it would draw a lot of good attention. It would draw the Overwatch League normies over to Contenders instead of just trying to show them out on a skin. I think that would do really good for the scene, because franchising isn't going to go away. It just isn't. When your team spots are $40 million, you think they're going to just give that up?
Right.
Yeah. If I'm being damn honest here, we've had more interest in funding from being a tier 3 CS:GO team than being in tier 2 Overwatch ever.
Oh yeah.
So it's just there. That's a league, but I can't say much more than that.
No, there's no money. There's no money to be had.
Yeah.
And that's why my teams are formatted the way it is. If we hit Contenders, that's great. But all I care about is getting my people up the ladder, because the only way they're ever going to see money is if they ever hit tier 1, or if they're actually winning Contenders. And you're a player, that's the only way you're going to, as an artist, and Cal, you could correct me on this, the money differential between tier 2 and tier 1 is
mental,
astronomically different. I could actually say some things. For some teams, it's not. But yeah, for most, there's a few teams out there that, I can't say my salary that I made on Atlanta Reign, but I made nothing in tier 2, so it's a lot more.
And
sure,
that's all
I from my content aspect, just for making TikToks and Twitter stuff for the Mayhem, what they pay me is, okay, you compare that to what I make for working for when I do coverage for events and stuff, it's 20 times, 30 times greater. It's significantly larger. So, and then you just look at an Overwatch League player. I think their base salary, the minimum it can be, is $50K, or did it get moved?
52,600 USD.
52,600. Okay. There ain't no motherfucker.
That's why I know that one.
There ain't no motherfucker making that much money in Contenders. And unless you're there's a Contenders every 2 months and you're winning it every single time, even then you ain't making that much. It just ain't happening. So the biggest priority is moving people up. In my opinion, that's all it should be at this point.
Our org's focused on progression in Overwatch too, so I'm with you.
Can I just say something that I heard that I'm not 100% sure if true, but I heard that there's a loophole with the Chinese Overwatch League teams that they don't even have to play their players that minimum, that they have a loophole around that, and they're not even making that much.
Wow. I can't speak to that.
I think it's more of a government loophole, I think, that you're talking about, that they're trying to not pay their players as much. I don't think it's an actual league rule loophole that they're not paying. I think it's more of that, because China has a weird government around gaming.
Wow.
So I think it's more of a different thing, but I don't think you're completely wrong.
Well, regardless, go ahead, sir.
No, by all means, please, you have the floor.
I was gonna say, look at the loopholes, but the Paris thing recently that just happened, I think there was a few people that came out and said it's literally because Paris can't afford more than 6 players, right? And
right,
you're supposed to be the top of the top. You're supposed to be tier 1, and their spot's not going away. They're just going to keep riding it out, paying them absolute minimum. I guarantee you that a lot of those players are probably making the league minimum. And hell, I know the league minimum is 52,500, right? 52,600.
52,600.
Or does that even apply to the past contracts that people sign for minimums? Are they still getting paid the 50 grand, or they get up?
It depends. I don't think many people sign multi-year deals. Say, I know Carpe signed a multi-year deal that went until the end of 2021 at the the first season.
But Carpe wasn't
maybe
getting
that could have been 50K. Well, he wouldn't be
Carpe
getting paid
wasn't
minimum.
getting
But say, for
minimal.
example, but say he was getting minimum, right? And he signed at the end of 2018, the first year of the Overwatch League, then he would technically be allowed to be paid minimum, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think one of the teams that have, a team like Dallas where they've got a ton of money would have just thrown the bag at Carpe if he was getting paid bare minimum.
Yeah, no, it's just an example that if he signed that a 3-year deal and the contract number went up, then the contract number wouldn't change and he's already signed.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. He's already signed to a 50k contract. He's not getting that 2.6k rise.
So anyway, I feel like we've gotten off the rails a little bit. What did you have another thought on that, Coalo?
No, that's basically that was just No, go ahead.
No, I mean I think we've covered a lot of ground here. I had a couple other questions that were going to show, but they feel kind of negligible considering the talk that we've had. I feel like we've covered a lot of good ground. Any final thoughts on this? Because that's the T2 is made of the orgs. Like this is all of our bread and butter. I can't tell you all how hard I have worked just to get the opportunity to cast contenders, and I probably still won't get it this year. Like I've worked my ass off for the past 3 years just to have the opportunity to try to tell the stories. Like this is something that's so ingrained in us. And that's why I'm so appreciative for y'all to come on and share this. This has just been an amazing 90 minutes. I can't believe it. But I think we're at a good point. Any closing thoughts on this whole topic in general, be it the orgs itself, be it what goes into a good org, how to start an org, how to fix T2, any final thoughts going down the board? Akash, let's start with you.
If you're a team and your logo it wasn't made in MS Paint, then you're kind of trolling.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He's real though.
That's the best take.
That's where ours started. No, like.
Look, I wanted to say there's not many good ogres in Overwatch. I would say, I think Susanoo's back competing. Is that correct? We were told by someone else.
No, that was I don't know where you guys got that from. That was it. That was that one tournament. I don't know that whole roster with Pine. You guys, I don't know what kind of money you guys think I have, but I don't have that much.
Somebody was
you're not
trolling
back
us.
competing.
Somebody was
know.
trolling us.
Anyways, I think we're good enough. I like Aqua. Anyone else?
Yeah.
And then I left. That's good.
I got one or two.
Maybe. I mean, the collegiate orgs. Okay, the collegiate ones, they're good. You go with them. That's it. I don't trust anyone in Europe either. So, there are Korean teams. If you're good enough to go play for T1, do that. There's not many good orgs left.
Closing remarks.
Go on then. Have fun.
I know there were some people in the chat that said I misspoke on Stellaris. Yeah, I apologize if I did. Right, that's on me. 2, if you want to start an org, right? Okay, you shouldn't just be like, hey, I'm gonna start an org, right? It should be
for some fucking reason, Matt.
It should be like, okay, look, you've had experiences with teams, right? You have a team under your belt, you want to okay, look, maybe I want to look at a second team. That's how it should be. It shouldn't just be like, hey, I'm gonna wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm gonna make a fucking org. No, it's never gonna be successful if you do that. 2, I'm gonna look directly at the camera for this one. If you're making an org in especially tier 3 or tier 4, and you're here for money, get the fuck out. We don't want you. You're ruining the scene. Straight up.
Wow.
It's my personal fucking opinion. If you're here to use fucking players, if you're here, especially in tier 3 and tier 4, if you're taking money from players' prize pools in tier 3 and tier 4, you can get bent. They're playing for $250 as a fucking team. They deserve every goddamn dollar of that because they're working their asses off every single day. That's my opinion, right? Take it as you will. Sorry, that shit gets me tilted.
No reason to apologize.
This is
a place to express your opinions.
Look,
I like your passion, man.
Don't take anything out of a prize pool that's less than 50k. I'm gonna be real. I'm sorry, don't. I'm sorry. If it's less than 50k, split between players who are working months on end. Imagine you're on 50. Imagine you've been working months on end, right, and you only get fucking 10k. For playing out of tier 2s, but fuck off. No, don't take any of that shit. Unless it's about 50k, and, I think then you can take a cut as an org.
I just want to share something that I was on a contenders team previously / trials team, and I'm trying to be vague as possible about this, but basically, they try to tell us that they bought the contender spot for us because it started as a quote unquote regular project team. And then later they were like, okay, we're taking 70% of this year's contenders.
70%.
70%. It was like 60 or 70%. We're like, we negotiated it down.
Okay, maybe 20, but like, come
Right.
on,
But
70.
it was because they were like, oh, because I need to like regain my investment that I spent on buying the spot, right? Like I need to make it back. I bought the spot for you guys, so now I need my money back. But I just thought that was like very interesting because it's like we said before, like why would you be coming into Overwatch expecting to get your money back?
If you don't even know,
Yeah.
make your money back 10 years time. There you go. There's your answer.
I just said
Yeah.
70%.
Yeah,
That
Coalo,
motherfucker
how could
wanted
you do that, Coalo? Like, how could you?
Motherfuckers wanted
Most
to steal your
Overwatch players
goddamn
can't count to
breath.
70. Most Overwatch players
70%.
can't count to 70.
70, like, holy shit. Like, I get mad when I go to the store and I buy something, my taxes is like 10%. Fucking 70%. Dude. Whoever the fuck that was, like, if you're still in the scene, get the fuck out. Like, dude, you're
Okay,
fucking...
They're not, but that's fine.
Okay, I was about to say, they're right.
DM me later.
They're a right piece of shit. 70%. Nah. I don't care if you ever see this, whoever the fuck you are, you're a right piece of shit.
Okay, I don't know if it was exactly 70, but it was an amount where it was like more than half and more than anyone on the team was like comfortable with because like, especially because they had paid us like the month prior. I mean, this is. I'm going too into detail where, like, if you really want to, you can figure this out.
I can talk because I remember you complained this about me, right? I'm not leaking anything. I wasn't on the team, right? So I mean, I think their whole argument was we paid for the spot and we need to make our money back, and that was so they were like, we're just gonna take the prize pool until we've made our money back, and then from there we'll cut it down to like 30%, which was just like unreal.
Wait, they said they would cut it down to 30% once they made their money back.
I don't remember honestly, but like that sounds about right.
So not only are we, I'm gonna get my money back. Okay, whatever, dude. But then you still want to take 30%? Like, dude, what?
Profit. We need profit.
Yeah,
we gotta make it profitable. This is my
to be honest,
it's all about all Overwatch is about is my passive income for my portfolio.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Oh,
no.
Well, that's why I invest in Bear Claw because their NFTs will make me money. It's passive.
Oh. Coalo, closing thoughts, please.
I'll keep mine short. I mean, if you're players and you have someone coming out to you and they're like, we want to buy the spot, that's a red flag. Never give up the spot. Susanoo, I never had control of the spot ever. Players still had it, so they could leave whenever they want. And two, if you ask them the question, how are you going to make money from this, or how are you going to make your money back? And if they have an answer, that's it. There should be no answer. It should be like, oh, I'm not. So that's basically.
I think the most like the farthest you can go is like, look, we're not planning to make money back. There might be a time where Overwatch esports gets to a good spot, and then maybe we'll look for funding for you guys, or maybe someone will come to us, right?
Okay, the only money that should be taken, but
there's a chance you get funding from outside. No fucking promises, mate, but there's a small chance, but that's really it.
Akash, you're the guest. Feel free to interrupt. You can interrupt Ocean anytime you like.
Yeah.
No, what were you gonna say? My friend?
Oh, well, I was gonna say like the only time it makes sense for like management or whatever to take money is if it's being reinvested into the team. Like for example, on Susanoo, we would collectively agree like, okay, well, we're all gonna give out like $50 from our paycheck. Let's pay Joel because he did work, and or maybe we'll take some and we'll put it into graphics or whatever. That would make sense because you're reinvesting it into the team, and the players are getting value from that because they're part of the team. But if it's like the owner themselves is worried about making their money back, I feel like the only time you should be taking money is like to pay other players or other staff or whatnot.
We once took money out of a prize pool for media training to pay the people that we were helping media train them, essentially. So I mean that was really it, and they got way more benefit than they were actually giving up, to be honest. And they were able to understand that, and they all agreed. So
Flutie coming in with her closing thoughts. Stop buying and selling spots.
Based.
Oh, you've seen my Twitter then?
That's gonna bring us to our comedic, lighthearted ending that we do every week here on Map5. It's time for our T2 tweet of the week. One that actually got alluded to a little bit early here in the stream.
We've got two, mate. Come on.
No. I'm just running with the one.
Oh, you've got to put the other one in. No, you're putting the other one in.
Okay.
Sorry, mate.
Unfortunately, I'm in control of prod, so boom.
No, well, you're doing it anyway, mate. I'm not leaving this chair until you do.
Our T2 tweet of the week comes from Rack Attack. It is the world tweet. This is just too good. It's a posting of the a bit of a DM of really a one-sided DM. And Rack Attack doing everything humanly possible to try to get some word back on to try to get some payment. But this was gold.
Before you
It fit with our theme this
go,
week.
I wanted to talk about this. See, you talk about stop buying and selling spots. I want to actually say that. I mean, Solaris, they bought their spot for trials, did shit, then bought their spot for contenders. Like, come on, that should never happen. There's another organization who currently owns a spot who also bought their spot, who owes money to a previous roster, and have had 38 players in fucking 18 months. I'm sorry, it's a big problem. Stop buying spots. Nothing else to say. We can move
The
on.
Jacksonville Jaguars, $3 billion in the last 10 years.
Damn.
What?
They spent $3 billion in the last 10 years in free agency.
Oh.
Just free agency.
How do you
All right,
know
well, that's
that?
not related. That's not
No,
related.
that's-
But it's
He was
insane.
one of them.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was one of them. I was a good invitation.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for coming on. I think that's a good spot to end it. Really appreciate everybody. Go follow our guests on Twitter. Go give them some love. I feel honored that I was amazed anyone of y'all said yes to this, much less all three of you. So no, genuinely, really appreciate your time. Thanks to Glitch City for letting us use the remix of King's Row for our intro animation. Really appreciate that. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend, y'all. Appreciate you very much. We'll see you next time.